Like, it's just crazy. This build's ridiculous, man. Like, by the way, this is my wand. Hey, what's up, everybody? So tomorrow is the Endless Delve event, and I just want to make a quick little video today about the build that I'm probably going to play. I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to play this exact one, but I did spend the past couple days on stream practicing it, and it's absolutely crazy. I was actually really impressed with how strong the damage was. The defenses I knew were going to be really good, especially looking at the results of the Mayhem race event. We know it's going to be awesome. Also, what I'm going to be doing is we're going to open up the PoE, and I'm going to go over the changes that I would make to this build to make it more my flavor and more for what I think is going to be necessary and possible in Delve. So yeah, let's start talking about it. So yeah, this is a cold DoT Trickster. If you saw the last video, you know, we went over the builds that I thought were going to be good overall for Endless Delve. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to just see cold DoT regardless across the board. We see this on most ascendancies from Trickster, Elementalist, even on Champion, and obviously on Occultist as well. Cold DoT's so good because of, you know, in a hardcore solo self-found race, because it scales up damage decently. It never gets to like really good damage, but it gets decent damage like very quickly with almost no gear. And the big thing is chill and freeze are incredibly strong defensive layers, especially in this version of the build. You stack hinder as well. And so if a monster can't get to you and can't hit you, that is a very strong defensive layer as well in hardcore. So yeah, what we're going to be talking about today is a cold DoT Trickster, which, as you can see right here, got #1 from FaZe Plays right here in the Mayhem Hardcore Solo Self-Found event. In the description below, I'll put a link directly to his profile. FaZe Mayhem right here is his character. But with any public profile, you know, you don't just have to type your own account name in here. You can always import it. So, you know, my account, you can just type in subtractem. So if you ever have a question about like one of my POBs or something, you know, you can just always import my account directly. You want to grab FaZe Mayhem, and yeah, you just get his character. So looking closely at this build, Polymath here is probably what I would take first on the Ascendancy node. In Endless Delve, you get your Ascendancy points at the exact level breakpoints that the trials are. First points at 33, then 55, 68, and then I think 75 for your Uber Lab. 3% more damage for each different type of mastery, and then recover 1% of life, ES, and mana on kill for each type of mastery. So what this means is the different types of masteries. So if you have 2 different life masteries, like these two, then that only counts as 1. However, we can see in this version of the build that they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 different masteries. So that means every time you kill a monster, you get 11% life, ES, and mana fully recovered instantly, as well as 33% more damage as a single multiplier there, which allows the Trickster to still get a decent amount of damage. Now, it's obviously not going to be as strong as an Occultist that has, you know, -20 cold res and more cold damage stacking with each other, as well as more curse effect. This is a much more defensively oriented ascendancy. After that, I would definitely at level 55 take one step ahead. Now, one step ahead is not as good as a lot of people kind of think it is. The main problem is that hinder and maim are movement speed modifiers. They are not action speed modifiers. So action speed is multiplied by your movement speed. So, you know, you do go a little bit faster, but maim and hinder will still slow you down a lot. However, part of the reason why I want to play Trickster in this Endless Delve event is because we don't get Pantheons, and we usually rely on Pantheon for freeze immunity, reduced effective chill, stun immunity, stuff like that. And without that, you basically just need to run Purity of Elements if you're not a Trickster. There's very few like full freeze immunities. You can also use Arctic Armor. So yeah, one step ahead just guarantees that chill and freeze you're fully immune to. You don't have to worry about running Purity of Elements or Arctic Armor. And then after that, we go into Escape Artist, more evasion, more energy shield, kind of stacking with Ghost Shrouds. Since we are a damage over time build, while Vortex, Cold Snap, and Creeping Frost do hit, it hits pretty small. We're just going to be scaling damage over time. Soul Drinker's not going to be very good since the leech will be so small since we're hitting, you know, for a very small amount. And that's why Spellbreaker is just better. Not to mention it gives us 20% chance to suppress spell damage. Now, the chance to recharge when you suppress is pretty cool, but you would basically just need Wicked Ward for that to really matter, because if you just get hit, it's going to stop your recharge anyway without Wicked Ward. So I think that's like mandatory, which is optional. You could tech that in if you wanted to, but I'm not sure I would use those 3 points. The scariest stuff is going to be degens on the ground. Lots and lots of degens on the ground, as we know, PoE in 3.19. Lots of ground degens and attack hits. So getting that max spell suppression is really good, but I think trying to like go into Wicked Ward for all that, it's not really going to pay off too much. Lots and lots of stuff is attack hits, and that's usually what's scary. The pathing here is nothing particularly crazy. We're just trying to make a beeline kind of to damage over time nodes. Luckily, Shadow starts near these pretty closely, so we can go up to Growth and Decay. We can grab Whispers of Doom for double cursing. We're going to be using Bane with Ally Weakness and Frostbite. Bane is just there to apply 2 curses at once, so you can save a lot of time there. Arcane Sanctuary, more spell damage is really good for this character. Spell damage does apply to the damage over time. For the cold dots, we grab Season of Ice with increased curse effect. Then we're going to go over to Frostwalker. I actually don't recommend Blast Radius here. We're going to talk about what I would change. Go over to Sovereignty and just grab these like really high value nodes here. Quick recovery into Discipline and Training. Just trying to get as much life as possible. The really nice thing that I actually see here for Endless Delve as value, however, is Holy Dominion. Getting that 12 all res is going to make things a lot more comfortable. Endless Delve, since we don't get the crafting bench, you're going to be struggling to balance your resistances, right? You're going to find a ring that looks like really cool and you want to swap it out to something else, and you just can't because you're kind of low on your resistances, and you can't craft fire res versus losing the lightning res on a different ring. It's actually like one of the struggles of playing Endless Delve. I think Holy Dominion is just really high value, not to mention just a bonus strength and intelligence. Shadow is very low, particularly on strength. He has a decent amount of int, but he's very low on strength. So having access to that and going through practical application as well for more res and strength and dex is actually just really good for him. And then in terms of the items, I don't think there's anything crazy to go over here. You want spell damage, you want level of all and cold spell skill gems, cold damage and regular damage over time multiplier. This is just like a solid, very good wand that he got in Soul of Self-Found. Something very similar to this is really good. However, in Delve, we will get the obliteration cards, and you can talk to Lily and turn in those obliteration cards. That is a nice little bonus that we're going to have this Endless Delve that we didn't have last one, because Lily in the last one did not let you turn in div cards. Being able to turn in and get an obliteration like pretty reliably will be really, really good. It gives us almost no damage. The Fizz's extra chaos does nothing since we do no Fizz damage. However, the Explodey is really, really huge, especially as you're running through Delve really quickly. Just having like a 0.25% of their life as an explosion as chaos damage will be really, really good. I would 100% spec in an obliteration, see how it feels like. When you get a lot deeper, I think you're just going to need like not an obliteration. I guess you could get a weapon swap going or something if you wanted to, when you're like run out of extra mobs and you're just slowly cutting around a very tanky rare. Yeah, definitely consider grabbing obliteration as well if you run into that, if you don't have something that's just like way, way better. But yeah, that's generally what you're going to want. A shield, just a pure defense shield. Since we are, Grace, Determination, Defiance, Banner, Spell Suppression, you're just going to go for, mostly since we are Ghost Shroud based, you do want to go for as much evasion and energy shield as you can. And then just kind of get your armor up to a level that's comfortable. Phase here hit basically exactly the breakpoint that I always say is about 20,000 armor with your flasks up, is where you're going to be mitigating a lot of those like medium-sized hits. With big hits, you really want to get like 50,000 or more armor. This build just can't do that. And so you want to just hit that 20k breakpoint, and you're going to feel really comfortable with that. All those medium-sized hits will be mitigated quite a bit. Now, the big downside here is that we're not going to be able to get as much mana reservation of efficiency of skills here. Crafting will be very, very streamlined, we could say. You're going to be very skint on your access to resources for crafting. So the big thing that I'm going to recommend here is probably just you're going to have to drop Defiance Banner. Stacking all these auras is going to be a pain in the butt. So that's going to be one thing that kind of sucks that you're going to miss there. So you do want to run Grace and Determination. Those are your 2 core auras that you're going to be running. The gems here, I think, are very standard. There's nothing to really care about here for considerations there. Faster attack, shield charge, cast no damage taken, molten shell. The cool thing that we do here, this is the same thing that I do in the Bane build. This is very common with damage over time builds right now that are stacking multiple skills, is we have a double 5-link by having Creeping Frost and Vortex in the body armor, and then they are all linked to the same support gems. This will save you, 3 additional gems in a single slot. Not to mention it actually reduces your mana cost quite a bit. This helps a ton. We do this in Bane with Essence Drain and Blight. This is the main thing that you're going to be going for in your double 5-link here, and then you have your Cold Snap, primarily there for utility. It's additional damage, but the utility of Cold Snap here is it gives you Bone Chill. Monsters take additional cold damage while they're in the damage over time from Cold Snap, and it gives you Frenzy charges, which is really good. If you do find an elemental weakness or frostbite on a hit ring here, you definitely want to grab that. We have no access to blight oils, no anoints, so you can't rely on getting that acrimony right there for more damage. But yeah, all of the gear here is just defensive oriented. this is a hardcore build. Now, the stuff that I would probably change, since we lose Defiance Banner, I'm a really big fan of sneaking in Enduring Cry. I think just having those endurance charges is really, really good. And yeah, the 6% less physical damage taken is gigantic. It's a free life flask. You can regenerate a lot of life from it. So huge fan of Enduring Cry. Not to mention you're always going to be really tight on a lot of monsters, as well as it will grant you additional Ellie res. That can be nice. If you get cursed with Ellie weakness, kind of helps you overcap a little bit. In terms of the items, I don't think there's anything to talk about here. Just stats, just defense, all that type of stuff. Now on the tree, specifically for Endless Delve, right? So FaZe here, he went really deep into a lot of area of effect. He was doing mapping and doing harbingers, stuff like that. Endless Delve is really tiny, right? We have these really, really narrow corridors. And then when you're actually in a fighting arena, it's not really big. Creeping Frost creeps, Cold Snap is really, really big. And Vortex doesn't scale that big with a little bit of AoE. So what I would really change here is I think the investment into AoE is not what I would do. I'm also really, really cautious. I hate dying or I hate getting close to dying. And so I'm more defensively oriented here. I mean, he got first place, right? Because he went really hard, took a couple extra risks. But the big thing for me here is the 38 chaos res is pretty scary. Oh, also, thing that I forgot to mention, the flask suffixes are really, really good here. And I think crucial. So reduced effect of curses, effect of shock, increased armor, and increased evasion on your flasks here. Quartz, Quicksilver, Granite, and Jade. I think all of this is basically non-negotiable, especially since we don't have a Pantheon. We're not going to be running Period of Elements. Shock is very scary. Don't just go for movement speed on your Quicksilver. And in fact, you could even drop the Quicksilver for a Sulfur Flask if you don't mind running a little bit slower. Consecrated Ground will regenerate your life and 50% reduce effective curses from Consecrated Ground. Now, what I would change here is I would go a little bit more into defense and less into offense. The stuff that killed me most recently is chaos damage and damage over time and curses. Those are the things that just scare me the most right now. And even though he has 50% reduced effective curses on his flask, I'm still extra scared of that. Arch Nemesis is the most terrifying thing to me in the game right now, particularly in Endless Delve. You're going to be trapped. If you see a scary rare, honestly, just log out macro. So these area of effect nodes, I would probably drop. So let's take a look. Take a snapshot here. They're at 977% full DPS. We lose very little damage. We go from 977 to 909 by dropping both of these nodes. And this gives us 6 more passive points to play around with. Now, this is a level 100 character. So, yeah, I would skip these nodes anyway and go up to level 94. And then as you level past that, this is what I would do. One of the best clusters here in modern Arch Nemesis is Asylum right here. Not to mention this build currently only has 38 chaos res. So if we take 4 of these points here and we go for Asylum, and then we take reduce effective curses on us, with our flask up, we will be effectively fully curse immune. And this brings us up to 68 chaos res. Now this is 5 of the 6 points right here invested, but I really think Asylum alone here will be night and day for mitigating some of the scariest stuff in the game. So that's my big recommendation. All right, rambled on a little bit here, but I wanted to get as much detail and all my thoughts that I could in here. This build is really, really good. If you want something reliable, whether you're in hardcore or softcore, this is just a really strong, really, really good build. It will make delving incredibly comfortable. It requires no gear. You'll be really, really tanky. Whether you want to just get to, level 90 or whatever for the awards, or you just want to have a really good time and have a really strong build. Trickster is just a very, very competitive category in hardcore right now. His defensive layers with access to scaling damage with polymath makes him just very, very competitive. And so a lot of people are going to be playing him, I think, in Endless Delve. But if you just want something really comfortable and fun, I think this is just a no-brainer. Yeah, if you are playing the Endless Delve, hopefully you have a lot of fun doing it. I am really excited for this event. It is one of my favorite ones. And yeah, hopefully you join me on stream this coming week as I, bash my head going as deep as possible, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Goodbye.